G'day YouTube viewer, g'day bikers. This might seem a little bizarre, but I'm going to do a comparison today between Riding Hood's two bikes, a Honda GB350 and a Suzuki Burgman 200. Now on the surface, these two motorcycles are very different. You're probably screaming at your screen right now saying one is a scooter, the other a retro-style road bike with gears, and of course you're right. But Riding Hood loves both of them equally, and I'll let her explain why on her channel soon. In the meantime, I've ridden both bikes regularly and have a few observations I can make. Given they are obviously very different, I'm going to look at things you can compare, such as power, highway speed, ergonomics, comfort, braking, suspension, and how they feel to ride and make you feel when you're riding them. On the first one, power, the Suzuki Burgman doesn't have as much pull off the line, but despite putting out only 18.1 horsepower, has more acceleration once you get the revs up, and that makes it better for overtaking other traffic at higher speeds. Meanwhile, the 20.8 horsepower GB350 with peak torque of 30 Nm at 3000 RPMs and peak horsepower at 5500 revs is better at getting ahead of vehicles at traffic lights and from stop signs. The Burgman's peak torque of 17 Nm or 12.5 foot-pounds is almost half that of the long-stroke air-cooled roadster and comes in at 6000 RPM with peak horsepower at 8000. So they are very different machines to ride in more ways than with one being a scooter and the other a naked roadster. But as a side note, something I have been told in the comments about the GB's higher speed performance is that a good sized screen helps it achieve and maintain higher speeds. So that's something to look at and consider if you are going to purchase one and use it on faster roads. When it comes to highway speed, the Burgman can go faster and maintain that speed better on hills and in headwinds. But when you are travelling at 100 km per hour or 60 miles per hour and above, it is revving higher and probably burning more fuel, although I still need to put the GB's fuel economy to the test. Now I must point out that with double the torque and low down tractor factor, the Honda will climb steep terrain far better than the Suzuki. However, a big plus for the Burgman above 80 km per hour is the large screen, which provides more wind and rain protection than any of my bikes with screens, including the massive one on the Heritage Softail Classic. The one on the scooter also buffets less, although the least buffeting comes from my V-Strom 1050 XT, which has the smallest screen of all three. Now for what they are, braking is good on both Riding Hood's bikes, but with the ABS and traction control, it is far better on the GB350 in terms of safety. The brakes, supported by more modern technology, won't lock up like they will on the 2015 Burgman in an emergency stop situation. When it comes to suspension, both bikes are very good for what they are. The two bikes are definitely built to a price, so they are affordable, but the ride is really good and smooth on both. The Burgman 200 has the added bonus though of an armchair of a seat with substantial padding that acts like additional suspension that will go even further than the shocks in soaking up anything a rough or potholed road can throw at you. It also has thick tyres on smaller radius rims that also soak up the bumps and function well on loose sand and mud. The extremely well-balanced GB350 has firmer twin shocks at the rear that make handling on twisty roads a dream, especially for a new bike at such a great price point. It also rides very well in the dirt for a road bike. On comfort, they are both great, but the ergonomics aren't as good on the Burgman for me. Each bike has a very comfortable seat and natural riding position, but at 181 centimetres tall, I do find the Burgman a little cramped. The actual size of the bike is great, it is just the way the seat is shaped means I can't slide back to give myself more room, and the handlebars feel way too close. I like my arms to be stretched out in a more relaxed position, which means my hands can just naturally rest on the grips. I have the same issue with my feet. Because the comfy bucket-shaped lounge of a seat makes me sit so far forward, I find myself placing my feet on the forward 45-degree angle footrest rather than the main floorboard area, which is very spacious. If the seat was different, it would solve everything for me. It is just that I am sitting so far forward I can't use all the space and find myself uncomfortable because I'm not in a natural riding position for me. It also means the rear view mirrors are way too close and I find myself pushing my hands forward to lean back so I can get a better view of what's happening behind. At 5'9" or 175 centimetres, Riding Hood doesn't have any issues and finds the bike perfectly fine, although she does use the angle footrest on longer rides like I do, so she can stretch out her legs for increased comfort. Additional observations are, the GB350 has a tighter turning circle and feels lighter in both weight and the steering, even though it is actually heavier and probably has a higher centre of gravity. Luggage capacity on the Burgman is brilliant. The storage is more spacious under the seat than anything I've seen on any other bike, alleviating the need for a top-heavy top box unless you are planning long trips or adventures. The Burgman also has excellent storage space around the dash and comes standard with a charging port. Now when it comes to specs, the two bikes are very different in terms of wheel size, tyre profiles, gearing and ground clearance. Obviously one is an automatic and one is not, but I'll let you look the other specs up in more detail than I can give here. I will however mention the Burgman is liquid cooled as opposed to the air cooled GB350. Its seat height is 735mm or 29 inches compared to 800mm on the Honda, and the curb weight is 164 kilograms, around 360 pounds on the Suzuki, as opposed to 181 kilograms. And the wheelbase is 1,465mm on the scooter compared to 2,163 on the roadster, which also has a bigger 15-litre fuel tank. That is a significant 4.5-litre advantage, giving it a brilliant range. As I mentioned earlier, I'll let Riding Hood tell you why she likes each bike and how they make her feel. In the meantime, I will conclude by saying I really enjoy the GB350 for chugging around slowly in a relaxed manner on quiet country lanes and roads in fine sunny weather. But on the Burgman, I like getting out more on faster roads in many different conditions to make use of its higher revving nature and great wind protection. It is equally relaxing to ride, but at higher revs and faster speeds. I hope that makes sense. What do you think of these two bikes? Once again, thanks for watching. I hope you found this unusual comparison interesting. If you did, please like the video, and if you'd like to be alerted to future posts, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. As always, have a brilliant day, and I look forward to you joining me in the future.